The next kind of array of capstones will focus on ecosystems, some terrestrial, some submarine, and the opportunity to do deliverables can be many things. We'll have a couple documentaries here, and grateful for the Julia R. Brown Fund for sponsoring several projects here, including the project that's coming up, Damari's project. Damari was able to travel to the Amazon in Brazil, and he really committed to immersing himself into a very different circumstance than Southern California in terms of actually, when you go to sleep, having the eyeballs of possible predators looking at you while you're sleeping in a jungle, and then instead of getting in, probably people here staying at the Hyatt Regency or whatever, instead of getting in the nice comfortable shower there, you get in the Amazon, make sure you don't have an encounter with a stingray, you spear some piranhas for dinner, and get out of the water as quickly as possible. Very different lifestyle, but Damari made good use of an opportunity to learn some things and bring back some experiences. And this man has a storytelling ability and style and quality of relating experience that it just really hits. He's watched a lot of good movies, I think, and that's probably why. But just a great communicator who really brings back whatever work he's done, brings back the experience and relates it very well. So you're about to hear exploring the cultural impacts of faunal loss resulting from climate-induced deforestation by Damari Nelson. The floor is yours.
All of that is very true, by the way. Thank you for the kind words, Corey. And first, I'd like to say I would like to dedicate the entirety of this project to my mother, Kenya, and my grandmother, Yolanda. I think they would have liked this, and I hope you all like it too. Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Damari. I have traveled within the hidden forests of Kyoto to pray with Nepali monks in a Buddhist temple. For 2 days, I ascended from the village of Lidoforo to the highest peak of Mount Olympus to reach Zeus's throne and the Muses Plateau. But today, I'd like to tell you about my greatest endeavor. For some motivation and background, there were 2 areas of interest to me for this project. But I would like to go all the way back to December, about 7 months ago. I knew in my mind I wanted to settle on the Amazon rainforest, mainly because of biodiversity as a primary factor. Animals are arguably some of the greatest indicators of climate variability. Shifts in ecosystem factors are connected to climate change, which is an almost form of symbiosis of its inhabitants. And for the Amazon rainforest, I chose a very specific region to explore for this. And then come January, the next month, the January 7th and 8th wildfires happened. So because of this, in 2 primary locations, I chose to explore 2 forms of climate-induced deforestation: wildfires and flooding. And here are one of many torrents that you can see within Lago Mamori along the Rio Negro, which spans about 2,400 kilometers, which is about 1,500 miles. And research questions I chose to ask myself while exploring these topics in 3 areas, 2 in Brazil, 1 in Los Angeles. For Los Angeles, I chose to explore the wildfire hazards of urbanization. And we use several mapping variables that will illustrate this for you in a geographical aspect. Using ArcGIS Pro, And then in the Amazon rainforest, the second goal and research question was to explore the flood-centric deforestation aspect by using a more qualitative analytical approach by asking socially climatic centric questions to its natives. And in Rio de Janeiro, it's not mainly climate induced, but then I chose to explore the results of urban deforestation. Now, to begin in one of the three areas in Los Angeles, California, and here you can see the area I chose to explore, Altadena, right under the Eaton Canyon Reserve in the San Gabriel Mountains, where the fire on January 8th spawned. I was unable to visit the Pacific Palisades at first. I contacted the fire department of LA County, and the blockades were severe in this area, so that was just impossible. So I chose a contingency in Eaton, which was also affected. These are pictures I took in Altadena, and as you can see, the blight inflicted on the area was harrowing. I was the only person or living thing really in sight. No fauna, no people, other than a few construction workers, of course, to clean hazardous leftovers, which I will be mentioning later as well. And on the right is actually the Zane Grey estate, who's an author, maybe you've heard of him, who ironically wrote a book called Wildfires. Now, for my methods I used in both areas, the Amazon and Los Angeles. Very simple method with your phone. As long as location settings are on, you can geotag approximate coordinates for an area that you are within 5 meters about. And on the left, you can see I was in Griffith Park, the Griffith Observatory specifically, and on the right is the Altadena area where the Zane Grey estate is. And these are the specific variables I chose to explore from my mapping. Now, I chose to make my maps very simple due to the fact if you did scan the story map QR code in the beginning, to make them as interactive as possible. And I am not joking when I say every single thing you can click on in that story map, okay? And these are just examples of maps within the actual deliverable story map. Starting with a screenshot of an animated time lapse, wildfires by hectares, wildfires that occurred in the past 24 hours with the red within yellow fire emblems, and gold is the prescribed or artificial wildfires across the nation. And this is an overlay of dead foliage as well as hotspots, the red areas here. And this is daily, updated daily within the story map. And here, I took two very common species of fauna found across all of California. The common mule deer and their natural prey, predator. Can you imagine a deer eating a coyote? The natural predator, a coyote. The vivid areas are mule deer, while the darker, blacker areas are coyote, as well as the intersection of active wildfires. And here are gases. The brown is nitrogen dioxide, while the green is poisonous carbon monoxide. Basically fires that are spawned from greenhouse gases that spawn from a fire or burn. And there, you can see the density accumulation by the transparency of their radii. And here are heat dense zones measured by PM 2.5, resulting in smog. They are measured by the units of μg over m cubic meters, micrograms over cubic meters. Anything with 12 and below is usually considered healthy. Now, to move on to Amazon estate, what you've been waiting for. This was the specific area I explored. Here is the Rio Negro, spanning all the way across those countries there. So we started in the northern city of Manaus, and we originally were going to go to the Tefes region, which was in the northwest here. But then we decided, because of the wet season, which persists from December to May, and you'll see how flooded it gets. We had to cross the meeting of waters where the Amazonas River and the Rio Negro converge. It's actually fascinating. You get to see the murky brown of the Amazonas River just won't mix with the darkness of the Rio Negro. Okay, and this is when the 9-day survival expedition started. The most brutal thing I've ever done in my life. And these are just several areas that I visited within the region. The method of travel was mostly by speedboat, of course. There was just no terrestrial land to walk on almost, other than the areas we walked in, which was specifically in the Cairiro region, which is where some of these pictures were taken. I pretty much caught my dinner every single day. If I didn't catch anything, I didn't eat. Unfortunately, I mostly caught piranha, which don't have a lot of meat at all. This here is a sloth, three-toed sloth, that a good example of animal displacement, actually, that we rescued from a floodplain. As the Amazon, I don't think I mentioned it, the Amazon River is the largest carbon store as well as the largest hydraulical system in the world, meaning is the #1 producer of floodplains. This sloth was in an area it was not supposed to be, high up in a floodplain, or tree in a floodplain, and we waited till it came down, which took a long time, and I was told to carry it by my guide, and we placed it on the other side of the river. And you can't tell, but there's a little tear there because it's squeezing my arm very hard. A caiman that I caught and then released, pink river dolphins, brown capuchins, and I've already told this joke to my cohort, but this is a very dangerous huntsman or wandering spider, possibly a bird eater. But have you ever heard a spider with so big it has audible footsteps? That is interesting. But moving forward, this is just a simple picture of all the equipment I took for the cultural aspect of my project. You'll see the most important items I had were the video equipment provided by the UC San Diego Media Teaching Lab, where I would conduct 3 interviews, ranging from yellow fever pills to my raincoat to my Walkman, which I really regret bringing. And this is where the cultural aspect of my project starts. So here we have Andre Villa de Souza, Jefferson Lima de Silva, Jeremias Ganes de Silva. And my guide, Jose Neto de Silva, was my interpreter / transcriber. So Andre and Jefferson are considered caboclos. Caboclos are the residents of Amazonas state, or who are of Mestizo descent, which is an umbrella term for European mixed with indigenous ancestry, or by cultural assimilation into the indigenous lifestyle. Jeremias is the shaman of the Cumbewa tribe, which is a riparian village along the Lago do Ubin, which you will see in a bit in the video presented here.
Qual é o teu nome completo?
André Vieira de Sul.
André, o que é a tua função aqui na Amazônia?
Eu sou agente de endemias. Eu sou responsável de fazer a cobertura pela a nossa área todinha aqui. Território indígena aqui. Estou aqui há 18 anos como microscopista. Tá uma devastação. Aí você desmatou a mata, o clima, a tendência é esquentar. Aí com ele vem as cheias do rio, que aí é o que faz a gente se mudar. Porque há 30 anos atrás, a gente não via isso. Hoje em dia, se você fizer uma casa no nível mais baixo, pensa que não, no outro ano a água já vem, já cobre a sua casa. Então você tem que se mudar. E isso, tudo o clima interfere nisso.
E tu já viu muitas terras sendo queimadas?
Já, bastante. Bastante.
Como é o teu nome completo?
Jefferson Lima da Silva.
O que você acha que é uma tribo indígena?
Uma tribo indígena, na minha opinião, é um coletivo de pessoas que trabalham em prol de uma só comunidade, entendeu? Como pescar, caçar, esse tipo de coisa.
Ok. Tudo bem.
Sr. Jeremias, como é o seu nome, seus dois nomes?
Então, senhores, bom dia. Aqui é a aldeia Cubeua. Eu sou pajé aqui dentro da aldeia. Por isso, senhores, como antigamente, a gente tem dois nomes. Então, agora eu vou falar agradecer como etnia Cubeua.
Um animal na selva que vocês consideram sagrado?
Então, senhores, animais têm vários. Tanto hoje em dia a gente vive aqui no segundo mundo material, quem anda pela trilha, ou onde o que vai fazer, tirar o vara, alguma longe que a gente anda, para pescar, para caçaria. Então lá tem animais que tem, só que ele, pessoal, gente, curupira, onça, também.
Sorry, I'll pause it for the sake of time. I forgot to mention Jeremias' mother tongue is Kumbewa, the name of the tribe. So some of what he said was impossible for me to translate, which is why you may have not seen translations there. But they pretty much came to the common consensus that the flooding is usually indicative of when the population numbers of the species of animals they find sacred are thriving or disappear. For Andre, it was the agouti, which is a medium to large sized rodent. For Jefferson, it was macaco, the macaco prego, nail monkeys. And for Jeremias, it was the macaco araña, spider monkey. And in Rio de Janeiro state, so here it was, I spent the day with the residents of Universidad Pluritécnica Indígena Maricana, and it consisted of 7 ethnic groups, the Guajajara, Machacali, Pataixo, Potiguara, the Cariri, Chucuru Cariri, and Jashavanti. And they are basically symbolic of opposition from the Brazilian government, as from across the street is the Mario Filho Stadium, all part of the neighborhood of Maricana, which is named after the blue-winged macaw here, the Primordius maricana. And this bird is extirpated, meaning is locally extinct within the neighborhood of Maricana and Copacabana. So from logging, what I was told by the residents of the Maricana, who live in the old Indian Museum here, the ruins of an old Indian museum, that urban sprawl and the pursuit of revenue gained from the entertainment at the stadium, flora and just tree coverage around their entire stadium is being eliminated at a vast rate over the years, and as an urban sprawl also increases. And sorry to hurry up. In my conclusions, just from an observational point of view, when I visited Los Angeles, the environment was definitely not suitable for most natural and urban communities. The Amazon rainforest, there were indicative species that were indicative of, rainforest health, that were found sacred spiritually or culturally, despite all 3 of their backgrounds. In Rio de Janeiro, the prospect of urban deforestation, I learned that urban sprawl was affecting the residents on a social and cultural level as well. And with that, I'm sorry, I'm over time. I will end it here, and I'm just very grateful for Julie Brown for funding this entire trip, my committee, Miriam and Kelly and Heidi Batchelor, and I'm glad I did it. It was extremely difficult, but it was worth every single minute. Thank you. Do we have time for questions? Yes.
This isn't super scientific, but how many piranha did you have to eat to be full? And how many nights did you not catch fish?
I caught a lot of piranha. I would say at least 10. During the wet season, fish abundance is, the only good part about the wet season is that fish abundance is extremely high, so catching fish was not easy. I literally had a stick with a raw piece of meat wrapped around it. And my guide, Neto, told me, go fish, and I did. I ate fish every night, and I got very tired of it. I had In-N-Out the very first night I got back from the U.S. to the U.S. But I hope that answers your question.